Yo Rana, and welcome back to FM Tahiti. It has been an absolute age since I've recorded anything, even though the videos have been going up. I say an absolute age, it's been at least a week and a half. And what I wanted to do was just kind of pause and work out what I was going to do next. And I've still not worked out what it is I'm going to do next, because we played the Club World Championship and we lost. As you can see up here, we lost to Orlando Pirates. I mean, we played well, but we lost. Made the club some money, so you've got that sudden boost here of 768,000, another 40 odd from gate receipts, and so on. So the club's in a good position. But what I thought I'd do is just to give myself a little bit of breathing space, but to keep the videos going up. And also to give you an opportunity, if you want to leave a comment in time for me to actually do something about it, was to just go through and kind of summarise what's going on and where we've got to with the team. And then we can make a choice about how to proceed for the next bit. But you've got an opportunity, so this video should hopefully go up on the Tuesday night. I'm recording it on the Monday, it should go up on Tuesday the 25th. I normally take the Wednesday off from uploading to give myself a little bit of a break, and then Thursday and Friday I'm normally back at it, so this should hopefully give sort of Tuesday and Wednesday for people to give a bit of opinion about what they might want to see happen, and eventually I have to make a decision whether there's any feedback or not. But here we are with the Humpbacks, so let's have a look at the club in general. So starting all the way back in 1819, very first season, we finished second in the championship, which was painful because it was basically on the combination of goal difference and results against, with Tetaroa beating us to it. And since then, we have been in the Premiership. The lowest we finished was when we had a very it was a bad season where I thought we might end up getting sacked at one point. We finished 6th, and then we've been on the up since then. So we went 5th, 6th, 3rd, 1st, and then 1st again. So not too bad. And if we actually have a look at the leagues, so I'll go back down to the championship. We'll just have a look at the kind of historic stuff there. 57 points apiece. That's how close that was. And they beat us with a few extra goals there. They also, I think, had the results against us. And then when we go up to the Premiership, first ever winners were Moria. We had our 5th, where we got 47. 6th, we got 44, so it wasn't actually that much worse than the season before, but it was a bit of a dip. We had a really bad run of form, trying to get the kind of long ball to work, and it's where we had to switch from a more kind of defensive long ball to a more attacking kind of long ball. It was still long ball, it was still God-given hoof ball that we had to play for that. Then we finished 3rd the following season, and that's every season there's a different kind of winner going on there. The season after, we managed to win on a single point, and we made that kind of change to our tactic, where we managed to go from the hoof ball to a more kind of possession based, still 4-4-2. 4-4-2 is a little bit overpowered, but it worked for us because those are the players we had, because we've been playing the long ball 4-4-2. Pipped it by a point, then by 2 points the next season, but a better overall kind of average. And then here we are now, top after 14. And it's been interesting. So there's been a range of winners: Moria, Bora Bora, Huahi and Taha, and then us. And Huahi and Taha have also both won the OCL, just like us as well. So they've had these kind of cash injections. So there's been this kind of general improvement. If you go back and look at us as a club, just look at the general stuff here. I think we started off with about 300 season ticket holders, and that's gone up. The average ticket prices and average season ticket prices have gone up a little bit. And we've also had an owner change. So we had a sort of tycoon take over at one point, and they injected money in to get rid of the debt. So they were, I think, they were what's called like a back end sugar daddy, in that they write off your debts. But he only did this as a one-time thing. So eventually we slipped back into debt. And if we look at the facilities, we're still playing at the Roratu Reef. Most teams are still playing at their original stadium. I don't think many have actually built a completely new stadium, if any, actually. But we have had an expansion. So we expanded this to, was it 1,294? And currently we're reduced because we've got our second expansion. So we've reduced by 129 seats so that we can add, by the end of the year, by the middle of February, in fact, so not too long actually, another 921 seats. So gradually these stadiums are getting better and better. We've not got much in the way of changes to our kind of other facilities because we've just never had the cash. We've almost always been in debt. Or when we have been in the black, it's not been by enough to actually improve these kind of facilities. And this is probably where the national teams are starting to stumble a bit, in that our overall reputation is improving, our performances are improving, so we're getting better players that way. But we're still kind of capped by our facilities as much as we are like national reputation, stuff like that. So these kind of facilities haven't changed, and I think it's pretty much the same for most teams. If we look at the Polynesian Premiership, we look at the stadiums, you can see there's actually a good range. So AS Chance play in one of the national stadiums, the New Dawn Views at 20,000 capacity. We can ignore them. Tetaroa are currently expanding their stadium, I think, so they're playing at the Stade de la Ponaru, which is a real stadium. I'm pretty sure it's a real stadium. And let's have a look. Yeah, it's a real stadium. So they've moved there as a kind of local stadium, so that's a 2,000 seater. But I think from looking at their facilities, yeah, they're going to be moving back into Marlon Brando Park, which will be a 2,000 capacity seater by the end of it. So they're expanding. Huahine got to 1,500. Taha, they're also at 1,300, and so on. The big move was Papite. So Papite used to play in one of the other national stadiums, but because of the debt involved, they had something like 15,000 capacity, but they're only ever putting in like 600. But they were paying the costs of running this massive stadium. So they ended up actually in financial trouble. They had points docked one season. They had 7 points taken off them. So they eventually built their own stadium that they own that's a much more modest kind of size. And it would go through. Plenty of other teams have had these kind of expansions. We're nowhere near the biggest currently, although when we had this expansion, that should pop us back up towards the top. Some have had more modest ones, like Uapoa and Takaroa. So these are teams that are from the other kind of island nations, so from Tuamotun, from Marquesas for Uapoa. And they're kind of, because they're the top teams for their countries, but they're still kind of small in the grand scheme of things. They've got these smaller stadiums. And then there are some who just haven't. So Sky Brights, even though they've been competitive, haven't bothered. Manuea have always been a bit ropey, and they've not bothered. Bora Bora, which I didn't realise, is they've actually won the Premiership once. They're not a small team in that sense. But let's look at facilities. No plans to do anything, so they must have a particularly tight-fisted and ambitious chairman, because they're still sat at 500 seats. And we move down into the Championship, you can see again you've got some of these bigger stadiums, and a few just haven't bothered. The big one here is the Hiva Oa, so the Alvaro de Mendana Porch is the national stadium for the Marquesas Islands. So again, there's this gradual improvement. So every team started about 500, apart from the Hanga Vines, who started at 300 or 400, because they're the newest, smallest team. And they're gradually kind of improving. And the attendances are going up. So if we go to the Premiership kind of records, if we look at attendances, the highest attendance since 2020 has always been over 1,000. And if you look at the, I don't know why it says highest average attendance. It should just be. Oh, I see. Yeah. So the highest average attendance, which team's got the highest average attendance again, been above 1,000 since 2021. Competition average is much lower because it's taking into account all of the teams. So there's basically maybe half the teams are probably getting over 1,000, and then there's plenty who are getting around the kind of 500-ish mark, which drags them kind of down. But you can see every season this has crept up from 306 to 311, 380. This sudden jump here to 500, 549, 631. And this will continue. So as these attendances get better and better, we'll eventually have more money in the actual league. Because at the moment it's still a really poor league, unless you get that big money from another competition. So from the Club World Championship, really, you don't get much for the OCL. It's still going to be a poor league. But if we look at transfers, actually maybe we should have looked in the records first. It doesn't seem to have it on there. That's fine. We'll go to actual transfers themselves. So if we look at kind of what are the most expensive transfers or not, this year we started to see a few fees. So the majority is still going for free. Or so little it doesn't count. So like £200 sometimes shows up as nothing on this. But you've got a 1,600, then you've got, 85, 14, they've all got add-ons as well, so up to 18. 4.6, again you see we're the big spenders, we spend a little bit. We received one of the highest fees there, but gradually you're seeing this change. So it went from 1 for 160, which was us in that first season. It's gradually creeping up here, so the record is worth about 18.5. A few players have gone on to other countries and other things, but they've tended to have gone on for frees. So we lost Pons, who's gone on, and now his value shot up a bit because he's playing in a different league. So you can see there's this gradual progression, but it is really slow because this isn't like a European league where you've got that sort of higher attendance anyway, lower travel costs, plus a couple of European, continental competitions to get money from. Even the qualifying rounds of some of the European competitions, the continental competitions, can be enough to keep a club afloat. So in a separate sort of offline save I was at Bangor City in Wales in the World Premiership, and we managed to get through the qualifiers for the Europa League. So getting through those qualifiers and getting into the group stage netted us about 3.8 million. This is a club that had like a running balance of maybe 50,000 and in the black at best. It was normally dipping into the red. So we got almost 4 million just from qualifying for the smallest of the two European continental competitions. If we qualify for the World Club Championship, we get 750,000. And even if we won and got all the way through, I still don't think we'd make more than 5 or 6 million by the end of it. And that's like the ultimate intercontinental competition. So it is kind of tricky to help this league grow. But what we can do is just keep going. So what we have done is we've upped the kind of quality of the players. So if we just look at our squad generally, because we've got masking on, so we'll be able to see all the attributes of all the other players. But if you look at some of our favourites, like Yannick Janin, this is much better than what we were originally having in terms of the attributes. We've actually got quite a few that are in the green, but also key ones that are in the green. Gerard, not quite as good, but you can see the kind of progression. So Yannin was slightly further on. Jan Andre, a bit younger, and you can see we're gradually getting this sort of progression. And if you look at it kind of on the international scene, if you look at some of their key players, you've got Ryan Rousseau, Oliver Martin, you can see that gradually, so Maxence Jourdain's pretty good. Gradually things are changing. You can see it in the ranking as well. So I can't remember how far back they were. I think they might be 155-ish to begin with, because it's Tahiti Societies, but now they're 117th. So they've kind of raised their game. Marquesas, 132nd. We've not gone up as much as we could have done, but we have got out of the kind of late 50s, which is where we were. Bass Island shot up, and they've gone from outside the, well, 1 point 211th to 158th. Bass Islands ended up against Uruguay in the playoffs for the World Cup. So there's a genuine improvement across the board, but again, it's that creeping improvement. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. I think we need as many seasons as we've already played again to get to a point where we see these big changes, and that's what I'm going to carry on doing. I'm going to carry on playing this until we get, hopefully, to a point where we have got this international competition, and that maybe we can do a little bit better in the World Club Championship, and we're getting better new gens and things, because we're able to change the facilities and things like that. But if we go back to our squad, let's have a look at the general information about our clubs. If you look at the competitions, in the overviews, I like it when he shows you. There we go. I like it when you see the trophies. So 1 OCL, 2 Premiership titles, 2 Inter-Island Cups, 2 Shields of Pride, 3 Mutineer trophies, and 1 Super Cup. We have won pretty much everything we can enter, apart from the Club World Championship and, annoyingly, the Polynesian Championship, which Hetero beat us to. So not bad as a kind of clean sweep for that. And we've had some great players through time. So this is our best 11, I think, overall. There's a few names there. So Ahmed Smith has been with us for a while now. Look at all these kind of appearances you've got from some of these players. Some of them have really stuck around. So McIntyre, Smith, they've been kind of mainstays of the squad. They've been around since the very first season, I think. Lamb, season after. Spearling was our first kind of golden generation sort of pick. It's not looking that golden anymore. Hamish Bennett was our keeper from the very first season, who then got bought for then record £275. And then his career has gone kind of downhill since. That's what you get for being a traitor. You've got even some kind of like workhorses like Michael Weaver, who doesn't look great in the attributes, but played a lot of games for us. Not many for Skybrights, but he played a lot for us in the end. And one of the things I love about this save is potentially you could get to a point where some of these players get their 1,000th appearance for us. And there's some amazing ones here in terms of Jan in 146 appearances, 133 goals. Gerard's 180, 137, and these two are competing for that record goal sort of rating. So we've had a good season. We've had some good teams, good players here. And a lot of the players that we don't currently have anymore have gone on to play elsewhere. In fact, James Manuel, our he was a right winger, really good right winger for us for quite a while. He's now the manager of the Turtengeki Wings. So we've got to the point where we've got players going off and becoming managers. Jordan Chisholm, if you remember, scored not a huge amount for us, but he was with us from the very start. But now he's the manager of the Fatahuku Corallers. Joe Jansen is still going, but no one's picked him up. But yeah, you can see we've got these. Darren Chance is the chief scout at the Tuamotun Exiles. And we've got to the point where our players are now spreading out, going elsewhere. So what I've got to do, now I've reminisced about the club, and I've also made sure I'm a legend there now, is work out where to go next. If we look at the jobs that are currently available, there's Puka Puka Typhoons, Unirimasara, Noruta. They're all potentially clubs I could take on, but they're not the ones I'm necessarily the most interested in. So I think, as I mentioned before, if you look at the Championship, the feral cats in particular, I'd quite like to take over. Maybe Hiva Oa would be a good team to take on as well. If I go even deeper, Turtangegi Wings, maybe the Shellfish would be ones I'd be interested in too. Or the Hangavines. There was also the Takara Terrors, but they're in the Premiership now, so I might actually just leave them, considering they've made it all the way there to the Premiership, and they're doing okay. I don't think they really need me. But what I don't want to do is take over a Tahitian team, like a Tahiti Societies team. So what I've got to decide is, do I resign now, and then apply for jobs? Just keep applying until I get the one I want. Do I finish off this season, and then apply? I think those are my two choices. I'm leaning towards currently resigning and then going on holiday, coming back for the World Cup qualifiers if I've not got a job by then, but then just applying for as many jobs as come up and see if I can get a good team. It looks like the Feral Cats might keep their manager for a while, but I'll probably give it to the end of the season to see what happens with that. But we want to take on another club and make them great and see if, hopefully, the Humpbacks can carry on being strong, whilst we then improve another team to improve the overall kind of quality of the league. So I'll leave it there. A bit of a ramble from me. Sorry there's been no kind of gameplay, but I just need to make a decision, really. So thanks very much for watching. Thanks for watching the series, as always. Thanks for your likes, your subscriptions, your comments. They are very much appreciated, and you can always talk to me on Twitter if you want to. I've also started writing for Dictate the Game. So I think first article is up about FM labs by using statistics. The FM lab title was actually used by another writer, Blue Souls, from Strikerless back in FM18, I think. So I inadvertently used the same name as them. I'd actually commented on one of their posts and completely forgot about it. But I've got a very similar name to them, but I just want to point out they were the first there. But that first post is out, and by the time this one comes out, the next one should be available as well, which is looking at different attributes and how they affect the game. So you can have a look at Dictate the Game as well if you want to. But hopefully you'll leave some comments, you let me know what you want to go on. I'll have a think about it, and then Thursday, Friday onwards, we'll have a new challenge to look forward to. Thanks again.